about is pinching the mallet about a third of the way up from the bottom of the shaft, okay? Next thing you guys want to do is make sure that your index finger and thumb are holding onto the mallet in the same spot, okay? That's why we start with this, so that there's a connection between those two fingers across the mallet. Next thing we'll do is we'll let the mallet sit diagonally across the palm like so. We don't want the mallet to come out the inside of your hand as like so, because we're going to take our fingers out of the equation. So let the mallet sit diagonally across your palm, and then gently wrap your other 3 fingers around the mallet. Okay? One thing you guys will notice about me and my hands when I'm holding the mallet is that I have a couple inches of the mallet coming out the base of my palm for leverage, and also so that I'm not choking back and holding onto the very end of the mallet. Okay? That's just our basic approach. When we're doing things that are a little faster, like scales and dirt, you may want to choke up a little bit and ride a little closer to the head of the mallet. But for octaves, let's keep about an inch or 2 of mallet coming out the base of our hand, and generally stay towards the back of the mallet. Okay. Cool. In terms of like our grip and like the motion behind the 2 mallet approach, it's very similar to like what you would use if you were knocking on a door. Okay, what we don't want to see when we're doing basic 2 mallet playing is a rotation or a turn of the wrist. Okay, we want to see a flex of the wrist like so. Okay, so we want to make sure that everything, your wrist, your fingers, your forearm, it's all at a chain, and you're pulling in the larger muscle groups after you use the smaller muscle groups. So our wrist is going to be doing most of the work. Our fingers will just be involved to make sure that we're controlling the grip and we have a little bit of relaxation given the fingers. And then our arm is mostly designated for getting us around the keyboard and being used as needed. What I don't want to see when we're doing octaves, for example, is us using arm before wrist and taking the wrist out of the equation. So focus on flexibility, range of motion from the wrist, making sure that the grip from our fingers is only as tight as it needs to be. Okay? Cool. All right, let's go ahead and get started with octaves. Okay. So a couple quick procedural things with this, and like I'll talk about some of the little definitions of these exercises. You're not expected to know this, but it helps. It helps us figure out the process of seeing how quickly we all assimilate this information. So let's just talk about the procedure real quick, okay? So with this exercise and a couple of our 2 mallet exercises, we use what's called the piston stroke, which means we start with our hands in the up position. Okay, so when we bring our hands up to play octaves, thank you guys for doing this. What we're going to do is start with our hands in this position up, and then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move down to the keyboard, okay? The prep or the upstroke is already kind of factored in. If you have a little bit of a natural prep, like you're taking a breath before you play, there's a little bit of a lift, it's okay. But we don't want to see something really excessive before the first note of this exercise. Okay, thank you. Lovely. Cool. And then the other thing is this exercise and a lot of our scale-based exercises, we go through it in a chromatic sequence. Meaning we'll do a rep, and then 4 counts later we'll start the next rep. With this exercise, when we play our last note, 1, 2, we'll shift to the next key on beat 3. We'll prep down on count 4 to about like a half stroke, and then there's a natural upstroke on the and of 4 into the first note of the next rep. Okay? So it's like when you go from rep to rep and we're doing it in the sequence, it's like you play your last note, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, shift, prep, and play. Okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, or that went really quickly in my explanation, just watch some of the vets, watch some of the people who've been here before. A lot of people have played this packet even if you're not necessarily from this group, so a lot of those expectations probably aren't new for you guys. But we're not going to get too caught up on any of those details at the actual audition weekend. I just want to kind of give that information here since we have the opportunity. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and start with octaves and the key. Is it major or minor in the packet? Major. Okay,